yes. Come right on in. Come right on in. Come right on in and join us. We are live, getting ready to start another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This? And I have none other than my special featured guest, Yashica B in the house. Welcome,
Hey,
Yashica.
I was gonna say, Pam, are you excited or what? You can see like
Yes,
you just
girl. We got to bring the energy up in here. We got to bring the energy up in here.
that's good. That's good. Hmm?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, first of all, great afternoon, great evening, great morning, wherever you may be joining us live. For the ones who catch us, if you're joining us on my private Facebook group, Broken Pieces to Peace, welcome to you. The ones who are joining me in my personal Facebook group, YouTube, and any other social media platforms, welcome, welcome. And thank you for tuning in. And also for the ones who will catch us on replay. We definitely don't want to forget about you. So we are so happy and grateful that you've taken out time out of your evening to spend this time with us for episode number 21 of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This, where it is my mission, my goal, and my desire to share with the world the crisis or those traumas, right? Those traumas that God has permitted in our lives, and then those triggers or those defining moments that is or was used to strengthen our faith, where God was trying to get our attention, right? And then those triumphs or those victories that we've experienced to above all glorify God and to help others. So I am so honored. I'm super honored to have none other than my special guest this evening, Yashica B in the house, Yashica Broughton Mack. Welcome, Yashica. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to share with my audience this evening. So, welcome again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, could you shared the whole government name, but okay,
Yes, honey.
we keeping it real up in
The
here, up in here.
official name. And then it's Yashica B.
That's right. You're right. You're right, though. Love it.
All
Love it.
right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Yashica is a self-development professional. Uh, she's a self-develop. She is a self-development professional who specializes in working with individuals as well as entrepreneurs and developing stronger, more productive relationships. Come on now. Somebody
Absolutely.
needs some help with their relationship. You need to go ahead and tag as many people as you can right now.
Yes, I was trying to tag some people in there.
Absolutely. She believes that understanding your inner self and acknowledging the self-talk working inside makes the difference in becoming the better you. Yes, it does. After losing her husband, and I'm not even going to go into her story. Definitely don't want to steal her thunder from her story. But for those who have, if you know someone who is suffering from ALS or who has suffered or who has lost someone due to ALS, this is the show for you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Who has lost someone, make sure that you go ahead and tag them. Okay? Because this is definitely going to be a blessing.
Absolutely.
She, after losing her husband to ALS, Yashica founded Mack House Charities in 2016, which is a nonprofit assisting families and persons with ALS and ALS diagnosis. Yashica has worked with professional boxers. This girl is a boxer. She got so much. She is so gifted and talented. Come on now.
You know what? I love it. Thank you.
She's a boxer. She's worked with professional boxers as a public relations consultant. She's worked with a local boxing gym as a PR manager. She's a boxing certified official, so don't mess with her, and a boxing coach. Come on now. She also created a company, Yashica B and Associates LLC, which is a public relations and promotional marketing company in 2018, and she specializes in promoting promotional products for small businesses and individuals. Come on now.
Mhm.
She's also the owner of Design Reflections by Yashica B. Those are nice
Yes.
too. Those are very nice. And it's
Thank
an
you.
empowering apparel company specializing in women's fitness and comfort clothing. We all love the comfort clothing, especially nowadays, right? Now that
Yes.
we're in this new life. And she is a veteran of the U.S. Army. So thank you so much for your service, Yashica.
Thank you.
She holds a master's degree in counseling and psychology, a bachelor's in psychology, and is a certified professional life coach. She's also certified through Les Brown's Power Voice system as a Power Voice speaker. That's my Power Voice sister over there. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And she is co host of the hit Facebook show Conversations for the Soul. She's also a published author. We will talk about that a little bit more. She has a book that's coming out. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's going to be so powerful. And
Mhm.
she's also a mother of three. So I want you all to give a round of applause and welcome, welcome, welcome none other than Yashica B. So thank you
Oh
so much.
my goodness. Thank you. Because I'm wondering who are you talking about with all that stuff?
Right, right.
You
Powerful.
know, wow.
I'm
Hmm.
so grateful to have you uh, come and share with us today. So thank you again for accepting the invitation to share your amazing story with us.
And again, I appreciate you so for doing what you do because I know that was a call that you had to answer. And from what I understand and how you and I have talked, it was like, okay, but you just went ahead and said, it was shaky, but you know what, Lord, I trust you and I'm going to go through that door because you opened it for me and I'm going to walk on through it. So, hey, I am grateful for you for doing just what you were chosen to do and you're doing it well.
Praise God. Thank you so much. You saw some of that beginning process for me, right? And so it was, what am I doing? Hold on, we got some background here. I found All right. So sorry for that. But yeah, you saw some of that beginning process. You were part of that. So it was very scary. It was very scary. But hey, we are here. We have grown. It's a part of our growing process.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a part of the faith walk. And it's a beautiful
Absolutely.
process. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be called to serve
Mhm.
alongside of you. And so, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it because we have, I don't know how we're going to compress this amazing conversation into 45 minutes to an hour, but we got to do our best. We are going to do our best because we really click very well and
Mhm.
resonate. Our stories resonate with each other. So,
Yes.
with that being said, go ahead and share with my audience today what was that traumatic thing or those traumatic things that happened to you.
Okay. Well, one of them I want to talk about because you touched on a little bit already was my husband been diagnosed with ALS back in 2010, and for people to understand what made it traumatic was the fact that we had just retired from the military, and we were into our retirement years, and he was with ALS almost a year later. Not only was he diagnosed with ALS, but we also had a baby a year prior. So we had an infant, and he was 3 months old when his dad was diagnosed with
Wow.
ALS.
Wow.
And when I want to go ahead and tell ALS is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It is a neurodegenerative disease of the spine. So
Mm,
when to explain that to in layman terms, just think about a stroke. Stroke, people think about stroke, you have it in your brain and you're weak, right? Maybe
hmm.
one on your left side or right, mostly the left side. But if you have ALS, think about a stroke in your spine. Because if
Wow.
you know about your spine is your movement, your central nerve is everything that controls
Hmm.
movement. So if you have a stroke in your spine, and you also know that when you have a stroke, that means that something has died. You
Wow.
remember, because that's the slower part of us, the left side or whatever, it slows down. So in your spine, that means that your muscles are starting to die.
Wow.
And so that's what, in layman terms, that's what ALS is. So it's a slow paralysis leading to death.
Wow.
So
I was
there
going
is
to ask
no.
you about that because,
Mhm,
for our audience who don't know what ALS is,
mhm.
you gave a fantastic definition. So thank you for that. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. And just let me know whenever you need to stop me, because sometimes we can go all fast when we're speaking, and I do get faster when I speak. So just stop me. Well, in 2010, like I said, he was diagnosed and he passed away in 2012. During that time, the diagnoses and the life expectancy was 2.5 years, and he
Mm,
did 2.5 years. During the time of his illness, I became, of course, a full-time caregiver to him. And remember, I had an infant son, and I also had a 6-year-old. No, Javon was nine at the time, and then I also had a 15-year-old daughter, and that no, those are the ages when they passed. Yeah, 7,
mhm,
8, because he was 7 when he was diagnosed. So being that, so I was a mom, a mom with young kids and a ailing husband, and so that was traumatic for me in the sense that I always say, and I shared it with you, and I shared it with your audience, because I was raised in the church. And I think I was raised in the building,
mm,
but the church wasn't in me. Because
mm.
during that time I was going through, I just told God, I just had normal conversations with him. I wish I had a closer walk with you.
Wow.
I wish I had a closer walk with you, because I believe some of the stuff that I took, I know I'm looking at it from my perspective. I wish I had a
Mhm,
closer walk with you. But I believe God was looking at it from his perspective. I have you. Footprints in the sand. Remember that poem?
mhm, mhm.
And I believe I was a true picture or true testimony or example of the footprints in the sand. I carried you. You only saw one footprint, and because he was carrying me. So when
Absolutely.
I was asking, I was like, and I would just sit in the driveway, because being a caregiver, that's not easy. That's not an easy
Absolutely.
a job. And at the time, my husband was a strong Black male. He
Mm,
was also a retired service member, strong Black male.
mm.
And I keep saying strong Black male for you to understand what comes with a strong Black male comes a certain sense of pride with them,
Absolutely.
a certain sense of I got to do everything, control everything. But when you take that control from them, and it's not that they want to give it, it comes with a little bit of a tug of war. And remember, now we were diagnosed with a terminal illness that has no cure, and he
Wow.
was looking at it where I'm going, knowing that I'm not going to reverse from this, and that's the thought process. So it got scary. And so
Mhm.
usually when the spouse is the caregiver, the spouse becomes a caregiver, and she also becomes the I don't want to say abuse in a sense, but it wasn't like physical but mental, because you're doing it yourself. And then who do they have to take it out on other than you? If they're mad, who are they mad at other than you? Because you're
Mm.
right there. And so I had to go through a lot with my head, my mindset, because to not take it personal, not charge it to the heart, but try to say charge it to the game.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine. Um, and thank you so much for being transparent and sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes to mind when you shared that was, do you see that that was a part of the breaking away from him and you drawing closer to God?
I felt like that was God starting to speak to me. I felt
Absolutely.
like those were the days that the process of who Yashica B was to become was
Mm,
starting.
mm,
I believe that it started back there, because I've had issues to come, like trauma issues to come up to this point, but this point, as it was going on, I wasn't looking at it as I look at it now, because I'm
hmm.
grateful for the love and the grace and the mercy that I can look back on it and say, you were working with me.
Absolutely.
You were working with me, and you heard me. You
Hmm.
heard me say, I wish I had a closer walk with you.
Oh,
And
honey.
now, years later, see, some people think that sometimes God do answer people right away.
Hmm.
Sometimes God is answering you later on, but he's giving you stuff along the way. And then it's like
Absolutely.
when a situation happened in 2020, and when he said to me, I had you the whole time.
Hmm.
I
And
had
working you and shaping you
mm-hmm,
and making you and
mm-hmm,
molding you
mm-hmm.
for our relationship that you asked for.
Right. Absolutely. And
That's huge.
now to where I am now, I wouldn't change it, because
Absolutely.
I know that in order for me to be a testimony, I had to go through the testament. I had to go through some things.
Absolutely.
So you don't, if you don't, I had to something had to happen in order for you to
You
be
had
able
to
to
be tested
testify to
and
somebody.
tried.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
And another thing I want to point out too is like when I was going through the situation, I never said why me. My
Mm,
question to God was why not me? Because
wow.
I felt like when I was going through that meant somebody else didn't have to. Because I knew that I was taking the place for someone who wasn't as strong as I was, who couldn't hold that face and hold that temperament like I could. So I knew that I was strong, and I was strong for a reason. And that was one of the reasons he made me strong, was to be able to go through that. And I always felt that was when you say pulling closer to him, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
I was saying. I feel like my plans started opening it up then. I wasn't aware, but he was aware. And then
Absolutely.
he started showing me. And I was like, and now in 2021, I was like, why didn't I ask? Why wasn't I in the woe is me phase? Why would
Mm,
why wouldn't I why wouldn't I, why
yes.
wasn't I why me? Why wasn't I why me in it? But I never did that. I
Because
never said that.
I believe, and of course I didn't know you back then, but
Mm-hmm.
in stories that I hear, and uh, and having a story myself,
Mm-hmm.
you had that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You had that God foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and so therefore, which is different than people who have no hope,
Mm-hmm.
who have who don't have that relationship with
Mm-hmm.
God. You had that foundation, whether you had the relationship or not.
Mm-hmm.
You had those seeds planted,
I
right?
believe it. I do
And
believe it.
so therefore you had somebody and something to lean on that was higher than you, who would
Mm-hmm.
take control and who saw the whole picture.
Absolutely. Because
Mhm.
I know you can't even shake me on that one to say it's something other than God, because I know it was. Because some of the things that I've gone through, like I've even been told by counselors that how your mind and the way you work your mind works yourself out of it. And
Mm,
I'm grateful every day for that, because I thank him for that as well. Thank you for letting me have the strong mind, that my mind
mhm,
can work me out of things, that I don't have to stay put in a situation. Yes, it's going to be trials. Yes, it's going to be tribulation. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be tug of war. Yes, it's going to be things that we think that we're not ready for.
mhm.
But when I say to you, Pamela, it's like when we talked, and the more we resonate, is what I got from that is that some people think that being chosen means that you're going to have a gold necklace or gold crown on your head, and you're going to be the queen. That's not just being chosen. Some of us are chosen to go through this because we
Absolutely.
have to go through this, right? And look
Absolutely.
at David. There's things that you have to go through,
Absolutely.
and that's the
Absolutely.
chosen ones. And then to get to the place where you are now, then you can
Yes.
share your story like you are on this platform, and then give other people an opportunity to let people know how great he is. And that right there is more than anything. Don't want to just dominate your show, but I want to tell you
No,
something.
go
And
ahead.
this is
Go
off script
ahead.
for what you and I, and at least what we talked about. Because
Mhm.
when I'm in my walk, I'm in my walk of discovery. I say
Mhm.
self-discovery. It's also, we say self-development, personal development, but it's also a self-discovery, a personal discovery, when you allow yourself to find out who you are.
Absolutely.
And when you can't really do it where you can, but you're moving through a space. You're moving through a space of time. And this, I'm going to come up to this second real trigger. You know, from I remember now, this was 2012. Do
Mhm.
the timeline. This is 2012. My husband passed away. He
Wow.
was diagnosed in 2010. He passed away in 2012. And now come on back up here to 2020, 2021. Now in 2020, my son had a car wreck.
Mhm.
It was a very bad car wreck. My
Wow.
daughter was missing at the same time. It was literally, she walked out the door. My daughter was diagnosed with a mental illness. She walked out the door. and left and was gone. And because she was diagnosed with a mental illness, the protocol is a little bit different from just an average person saying they're missing. When they have a mental illness, you have to you are allowed to contact authorities, and authorities will respond. Not tell
Mm-hmm.
you have to wait XYZ. They will respond. But we had no idea where she was. And within the sheriffs left my house, they was not out of my door 10 minutes before I got a phone call from my son's girlfriend saying he was in a one car, very bad accident. He's been medevac to the hospital. And that night was a night that I could not, because I look at, when I tell you the timeline between 2010, 12, I was in control. Remember, I said, I wish I was closer to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I was able to navigate the different things,
Yes.
but that was a shake for me. That was a shake for me because I lost control.
Yes. Yes.
And then one day, my son was in the hospital. Then my daughter was found that night, and he was in one hospital, she was in another hospital.
Lord have mercy.
And I just had, and I was leaving her hospital, and I remember calling my mom, and I was just exhausted. And she said, "Go home." My mom said, "Go home." And she said, "Your son is in the best place he can be with the best care. He's in the hospital. Your daughter is in the best place she can be. She's in the hospital. But that at the time, that 10-year-old, which is my little one, doesn't
Mm.
have anybody.
Mm.
He doesn't have anybody. And
Wow.
what good is that going to be if he doesn't have anybody?" She said, "Go
Absolutely.
home." She said,
Wow.
"Go home." So I went home, and I remember it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and my neighbor had him. And I said, "Can you?" She said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I just needed him." So when we went home, I turned the phones off.
Mm.
Me and him got in that bed. I held him tight, and we went to sleep. And I literally just held him sleep. And that was another part of my life that was a trigger to me, because when I woke with Ace the next day, something happened.
Mm.
It was one day I remember. I couldn't get out my chair. I have a chair in my room, and y'all, I'm going somewhere with this. I have a chair in my room, and I couldn't get out the chair. Then I just started crying, just crying, just crying,
Mm.
just profusely crying, 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 crying. Couldn't stop crying. Didn't know why I was crying, but couldn't stop crying. I was doing it, and I was there for, I want to say, almost 24 hours. But what I did know to do was call the VA crisis line.
Mm.
I didn't even have the number. I'm gonna tell you how good he is.
Wow.
I didn't have nothing on it, but you know that number was in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I
Wow.
don't remember saving that number. I don't remember none of that, but that number was in my phone. And when I called the crisis line and I was explaining to them, I'm just losing it. And that's what I felt like. My body, from, remember, 2010, 2012, he passed, and here it is, 2020. That's
Wow.
a long time to carry
That
myself
burden.
this prone
Mm-hmm.
and not to be able to release. So that's what was happening to me. And it was the downpour, and I could not stop crying. And I couldn't, I mean, I was ugly crying. I'm just
Right. 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 Right.
but and I was able to call the crisis line to talk to somebody. We were texting and talking for them for them to help me through that. And that is another thing that I'm just so grateful for. I don't know. I know it was God, because
Mm-hmm.
I know I didn't put the number in my phone.
Wow.
And then out of all these years, all this stuff that's happened, why this particular time did I phone for help? You
Wow.
know? So those are tricks. Something had, he was letting me know. And I think way back then, it's like, no, you're going through, you're losing it, but I haven't lost you. You ain't
Exactly.
lost it. Let me step in here. Let me reset you. Let me reset you a little bit. Let me let somebody help you. I'm gonna reset your brain a tad bit so we can go on and do what we have to do. Because at that time, he had work for me to do, and
Mm.
I know that he has work for me to do, and I'm really embracing it now because I ran from it. I've
Mm-hmm.
been, I saw this back when I was like 5, and I'm starting to share that now because I'm more comfortable with sharing that story. I just
Right.
remember, I had a memory of me always being somewhere and leading, but I was scared of it because I always thought it was darkness,
Mm.
until I learned that it was darkness, but I am the light.
Come on now.
He gave me
Come
a
on
life.
now.
That's the reason. And I didn't, and at the time I didn't have the nourishers to help me with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that.
But now it's like when I started understanding and my dialogue changed with him. And so
Mm,
when my dialogue changed, he changed. He's always him, but because I was asking for things, so then he was able to give it to me. And
absolutely.
I was telling you about the courthouse. I feel like like God's in the is a judge, and then you and then
Yes,
you have
yes,
angels over there, the jury. They just wait. They say, finally, she said something, so we can
exactly.
release. Finally, we can go down here and help her. But I believe that day in the driveway when I said, "I wish I was closer to you," I believe he did dispatch someone, but he it was more to it than that. But I didn't release anybody else. So that one, I said that one angel was catching heck with me.
Well, guess what? He says in the word,
Mhm.
ask and you
Yes.
shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open unto
Yep.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And so all we have to do is submit in that time of need, right? And
Right.
he's just there waiting to dispatch his angels,
Waiting.
you know,
Waiting.
just waiting and to relieve that burden. And you talked about your, husband diagnosed, the then passed away in 2012, and
Mm-hmm.
then your daughter being in the hospital, same time as your son being in the hospital
Mm-hmm.
from the accident.
Mm-hmm.
That was 10 years later
Mm-hmm.
from the diagnosis, right?
You're right. Right. And that's what I'm saying. That he may never come when you want him, but he's always
Always,
on time. And the
always.
things that he had to reveal to me this year, I wasn't
Mm.
ready for that year, but I was getting there, as far as like he knew that I was coming.
Oh, it's a
But it just
process.
I always say that I say it's as many layers to this onion,
Yes.
and it takes me a little bit longer. I'm the bamboo tree. It takes a little bit longer for me to for me
I'm your sister. I'm your sister, Bamboo.
'Cause I had to sit. I was talking to the Lord one day, and I said, "Look, Lord, you know." I have to talk to him just as honest as I can, just transparent. I said, "Look, Lord, you know your girl down here can't read between the lines. She can't
Right.
read those lips. You
Exactly.
got to be straight up with me. Tell me what you want."
Exactly. I don't know what the signs look like. Can you just
Oh
tell
wow!
your daughter, okay? I
Yeah.
got, you calling on the right one, but oh, Lord, I ain't seeing the
Absolutely.
signs or something.
Yes, I was like, "Oh my goodness." So he has to work with me. So yes, those were some true defining moments. But if I look at everything, it would have to be the diagnosis and my husband's death, and
Mhm.
then the car accident, and then to top it off was the day that I had to call the VA crisis line.
Mm.
That was to me, believe it or not, that was the scariest thing. Was
Asking for
asking.
help.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Asking
It
for help
is.
when I really needed it. Because
Absolutely.
because when I really needed it, because just being a woman, you know how we get sometimes we want to be like the little damsel in distress, but it
Absolutely.
don't work. It didn't work for
Mhm.
me. That don't work for me because
Mhm.
I just always, I could try to play that woe is me line, but it worked like a hot second. It ain't working because my personality is too strong. It's
Absolutely.
too strong, so I can't stay in that phase. But that was one of the best things I've done for myself. Was started there.
Wow.
Now, I didn't go into any deep therapy or anything like that, but it was just a point that I was able to do it, make the
Mm.
call, and say I needed help. I can't get out the chair. Why can't you get out? Because I'm just sobbing. I can't stop crying. And then of course they have your records and things like that, so they can pull stuff up. It's like okay, and And so what happened was I realized something. I never grieved. I never mourned.
Mm. That's
I
key
had to
right
keep
there.
moving. I had to keep. I didn't have to. I had a 3-year-old. I had my middle son. I had my teen. I didn't have. I didn't. I couldn't stop. I had to
And
keep
how old were
going.
your children at that time? You said
When he passed,
3.
the
How old
Ace
were
was
your
3,
children at
and
that time?
Javon was 11, and Danye was 15.
Wow.
But remember, during his illness, they were younger too because they had to go through that too, the 2.5 years of him being ill. So they
Sure.
had to help, and so my middle son helped me a lot with him
Mhm.
as a
Mhm.
caregiver. Yep, they did. And so yeah, so those are things that I just I was like, yes, I did. And I was like, no, you really didn't. You've been and
Wow.
not not even just that, because as I'm speaking to you, he just revealed something else to me. You never grieve and mourn from none of your traumas because your mind, you're so strong. So
Mm.
when that's why it was like coming and I could not stop.
Yes,
And it
exactly.
was just going and going and going
Yeah,
and going. I could not stop.
I get that.
And
Because
so,
all that suppression,
mm-hmm,
you never, when you release it and
mm-hmm,
cry and grieve,
mm-hmm.
that is a cleansing,
Yes.
and it frees you to move, to move freely. But if
Mm-hmm,
you never grieve, it paralyzes you, and you got
mm-hmm,
all that weight that's
mm-hmm.
weighing you down. And so you got to a point you're in that chair and couldn't get out of the chair for 24 hours.
Couldn't get out the chair. Chair didn't have no arms. It wasn't holding.
What?
Didn't nobody paint no glue on the chair, but I just couldn't get up. I just couldn't.
What?
The chair didn't wrap a straight jacket over it.
Come
I
on
just
now.
couldn't get up. I just couldn't get up. So I said, you know what? I said, okay, I take it for what it is. I said, it's the spirit that held me because we knew we had some do some things.
Yeah,
And where I am now is like I'm grateful for that because that again was my turning point.
absolutely.
And I started looking and being aware of my life. And then
Hmm.
right after that, we were into the TIR, thinking into results part of things where I had to start really looking at things and thinking because when they say, well, who are you and what's your purpose? That's some people answer that quick, but I don't. Cause
Mm-mm. You got to dig for that.
I'm like, wait, I gotta read. I mean, I'm not doing my reason now. I'm talking to Pamela. It's not my reason. It's more to
Right.
it.
I would
You know,
even take it back just a few months before that to
mhm,
Power Boys.
yes,
That was such a healing process
right.
for me, and
Hmm.
I know for a lot of people who were, in that course with us.
You know
And
what that? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
What that showed me was the fact that you think that you're in this thing alone,
Yeah,
or that your story or what has happened to you is so isolated, but
you're the only one.
it's really is, and don't take this the wrong way. It's almost a norm. It's so much trauma, so many things that women and I understand men, y'all been through some stuff too, but we ain't talking to y'all right now. The women have been through, and
Absolutely.
and I'm gonna go one step further because I know we got all kind of people, but I'm gonna go one step further. The black woman
Mm-hmm.
has gone through, that has to endure, and she still gets up every morning and she shakes it off and she move forward. But
Keep
we have
pressing.
it's a lot. So what showed me was when I knowing what I'm going through, then to hear so many other people in different nationalities.
Absolutely.
So are we really that much different?
Not at all, because
Not
even
enough.
even with you know being able to share our story
Mm-hmm.
and going through that process of sharing openly with other people,
Mm-hmm.
that is so freeing and
Mm-hmm.
so liberating,
Mm-hmm.
and so being able to hear other people in a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make that clear. In a
True.
safe space.
Right.
Because if you've never experienced a safe place
Mm-hmm.
to land your words, you need a safe place to land your
Absolutely.
words. And you will
Absolutely.
see, God will allow you to see that you're not the only one, going through.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that are going through a whole lot worse than you.
Yes. Yes.
And you couldn't
Absolutely.
even imagine that, because
Mm-hmm.
you what did Les Brown say? You can't see the picture
When you're
with
in the
you being in the frame.
mm-hmm. That's right. And I love the quote that he has: "When life knocks you down, try to land on your back. As long as you can look up, you can get up." And that's what I
Come
realized.
on now.
That's how I started one of my speeches. Because as long as you can look up, I've been looking up all my life.
Yes.
And all my life I've been looking up because I've been getting up, and I'm
Yes.
grateful. And I know that that's not something that you can't do on your own.
Absolutely.
That's him. That's God.
Absolutely.
That's the I am. And I was telling the story the other night when I was on a conversation for the soul when I listened to Wayne Dyer. It's the
Mhm.
first time I ever put that parallel together of I am.
Mhm.
Because when he says, who are you? When remember when the story when Moses went to the bush, he said, I am.
Yes.
I am. What
Yes.
do we tell ourselves to start those affirmations with? I
I
am.
am. Mhm.
And I realized what that was. Wait a minute. That's the reason why you say in the positive. Because if you're saying I am, we know that we are a part of him. We're a part of the master. Because I'm a masterpiece. I'm a piece of the
That's,
master. I don't know about
come
nobody
on
else,
now.
but I
Come
know what I
on
am.
with it.
So
Come
if I
on.
know that I'm a part of him, so I cannot say I am anything other than but some great because
Absolutely.
he's great and I'm a part of him. And if I say
Ab-
anything else, then that means I'm telling him that you're not. Because he
All
said we
that.
were made in his image, or did he say that only to me? I'm just
No, no,
asking.
no, no, no. It's in the word. It's in the
Oh, okay.
word. 'Cause
Well, you know,
I can attest to that. That it's in
okay.
the word that He created us in His image. Right?
So therefore, my I am has to represent me, represent him.
Yes.
So I said I am. I am all that. I am bold. I am strong. I am courageous. I am valuable. I am
Absolutely.
worthy. I am blessed. I am the beginning. I am a lender. I said, hey, go
All
on
that.
now. That's how I do my affirmations now, and I
Yes,
do them
honey.
with so much. And I'm like, woo, yes,
Conviction.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And the thing
And
is, like when
two.
I tell you this little bamboo tree, you see how
Mhm.
long this little bamboo tree that's trying to sprout.
Exactly. Exactly. It that is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to release those I ams.
Mm-hmm.
And people ask me all the time, even in the store, whether anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, "Well, how are you doing?" I'm phenomenal. What? I
Yes.
have never met anybody phenomenal. You better get some.
You just did.
You better get some. Anybody who knows me, you always great. I am. You know why? Because I am made in His image, and if
Yeah.
I am anything other than that, I may not physically feel it at the
Mm-hmm.
time, but as when I say it, then it releases that and stops that negative
Mm-hmm.
and releases the positive.
Right. Right. And
You know,
now that you know that you really can, because that we'll sit there and do them I am. They just become repetition. It just become what we do. This.
but
They say
honey,
be positive, but let me tell you. But when I connected that, and just like when I understood that He carried me, mm,
yes, yes,
huh? And then
yes,
now it's like it's been there all this time. And I said, it was just like that. He said it was. God said it was just like that. But your hard headed
yes,
self.
absolutely, absolutely. I've been trying to tell you. I've been trying to
Even
tell
I
you
would
all
try to
along.
take for a long time. And then my little, I call my little angel being there. Tell me something. Oh Lord, what we gonna do with her? What we gonna do with her?
Exactly. Love me,
Yes.
love me.
Love me.
Exactly.
And when I tell you, when I post stuff like I post a picture sometimes on Facebook, and when I'm talking about peace, it's a different feeling. It's a different. Oh my goodness, it's what's come over me now, which is so different because I'm in a different space. I'm in a
Absolutely.
space to where I'm not even gonna let you. I'm not even gonna let you disturb my peace. And granted, now
Absolutely.
when we're working through things, granted, I don't and to the audience, don't think that this is not a daily work. This is an
Yes,
all day daily work, meaning that
absolutely.
there are gonna be triggers. But when I recognize my triggers, and I can say, that's a trigger,
Mm-hmm.
and I can immediately work on me because I always ask him to show me
Yes,
me. So if you show me me, I can fix it. Right in almost in the sentence because I can see it.
absolutely.
But
My,
you
my
like we
new
talked about.
thing,
Hmm.
my new thing is when I'm going through
Uh-huh.
is, Lord, what am I supposed to learn in this season?
Yes, that's my new one. Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to learn in this season? Because some things Tion said it last week. He said, we win some and
Mm-hmm.
we learn some.
There you go.
Never lose.
Yes.
Never lose.
He is phenomenal too. He's something
Oh,
else.
oh my
He's
goodness.
powerful.
Oh my goodness.
He's
Love
powerful.
him. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you. But in that,
Mm-hmm.
if you understand that when you go through your trials and your tribulations,
Mm-hmm.
they are for your good.
Mm-hmm.
God is always have his hand working it out for your good. It might not
Mhm.
feel good in the process,
Mhm.
but once we turn, right, and
Right.
start giving him the glory, he said, count it all joy when you go through your test of trials. It's
Mhm.
only a test of your faith.
Yes. Oh my goodness, you just got my cheek like, because
Yes,
yeah, you just feel it. But
honey,
it's
son.
yes.
I'm
One
telling
other thing that I have started as well looking at because I think about the story of Christ.
you. Mm-hmm.
You know, he is the beginning and the end. He knew
Yes,
the end before the beginning.
absolutely.
So if he's traveling through this time, knowing that he was going to have a Judas, knowing that he was going to have, he knew these things,
Come
but he
on now.
still traveled through that road. So what makes us
Woo.
think that we're not going to have a Judas? What makes
Exactly.
us think that we are? But the thing is, what was his goal? He had to get to
Mm,
Calvary for us.
mm-hmm.
That was the goal. So it didn't
Absolutely.
matter with the distraction. So so basically, the way I look at it now, and I had to learn because I used to get upset when people bother you or people say something
Absolutely.
out of line or think I always got to go prove my point. I don't do that
Absolutely.
no more because I had to learn something because I looked at it, I said, wait a minute, those are just players in my movie, but they
Come
not
on
the
now.
and if they wasn't playing their part, it wouldn't be interesting.
Absolutely.
So my movie
And,
got to
but
be
too, it can be a test
yes,
to get us promoted to the next level. You either
absolutely.
go,
Absolutely. And I do believe that too, because when I say these little triggers be showing up, and now I can see them, and I be like, yes. And
thank
I'm
you,
so
Lord.
grateful I did.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you, Lord, because I go back to this real quick. Remember, my story with my daughter,
you. Mm-hmm.
and I wrote the book about that.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
a mother's love's tested. Why not me? I have one in here, but you know I'm in
I
mama house. It's okay.
I got my book, but I brought it downstairs. I took it downstairs earlier today, and
Hmm.
I didn't bring it back up. Oh,
Hmm.
I have my book.
Well, let me tell you, we had another episode recently,
Mm-hmm.
and so the mama me,
Mm-hmm.
responded.
Mm.
So, but it wasn't as like before.
Okay.
I saw it. I saw the trigger, and I said, I saw the trigger. So
You
when I was
responded or
here,
you reacted. Respond is positive. React
reacting.
is negative.
I should say I reacted, but it wasn't bad. So I guess it can go either way because I'm still
Fine.
it's a trigger
Okay.
thing, right?
Okay.
Because with me, to me, I reacted, but it was actually a response. But still, there's still work to be done. So
Absolutely.
I'm here at my parents' house, and we're in the country. I say
Mm-hmm.
the country, but
And I
go.
didn't tell you she was a homegirl from Alabama.
Hey, yep. Yeah, and you guys know that I talk about ghosts. So y'all see my pictures about ghosts on that's my dog. So Ghost woke up at it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's cold for one.
Right.
he he wouldn't he was when he wants to go outside, he'll come around on side the bed and he just stare at me. He's staring at me and I'm asleep, but you can feel the stares. And
Right. Right.
if I try to ignore him, then he'll take his paw and he'll tap the bed.
Hush, child.
Like, and I'm like, Ghost, I'm not getting up. So I looked at the time to see what time it was. I said, you got to be kidding me. It's in the 4 o'clock hour. It's early 4 o'clock. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm getting quick. So
Mm-hmm.
so it was in the early 4 o'clock hour. So okay, I ignored him. So then he jumps on the bed. And he does this if I don't want to get then he started messing with my face, doing all the kind of licking in my face. And he know I don't like that. But I
What?
didn't have a choice. He's got to go outside. But listen, we're outside in Alabama. Ditto, Grand Bay, Alabama is in the country. My daddy got cows. It's a fence. We in the country. But there's nothing going on outside. It's
Mm.
peaceful.
Mm.
I saw the stars that I haven't seen in so long, almost like I can touch them.
Wow.
That's how clear the sky was. But the significant moment of being outside, and I knew what the dog was for because I needed that peace moment. Because what he told me was stop reacting.
Mm.
Stop responding altogether. Listen to her.
Mm.
Don't battle the trigger because it's if you read the book, you understand what I'm saying. Don't battle the trigger.
Absolutely.
And then he told me to open your door because I told her she couldn't stay there. He said, open your door. And I was like, I looked, I was like, you got to be kidding me. You know what somebody because it's like it was just that clear. And
Wow.
I looked up, ain't nobody out here but me and Ghost. But he brought me out there to have that moment with
Wow.
God.
Wow.
And what I did, I was obedient. I came back in the house. I text my daughter. I said, listen, I told her I left the top lock where she can get in. And she said, thank you, mama. And then later on, she's home. And
Mm.
so I'm just that right there for people who know me and know how my personality has been, how I
Yes.
can be, but to understand that it's not about me, and I get it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what he's showing. It's not about you. So sometimes, and I want to say this to your audience for them to understand something. Sometimes people are going to push every last button and then borrow somebody else's button, put them on you and push them
Come
too.
on now. You didn't say borrow somebody else's button.
But listen, don't get caught. Try to understand what I'm saying. Don't get caught up in being so mad at that person for doing all of that. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you can look past them and see that it's not them and it's not about you, it's about the greater. Because sometimes we are the targets,
Yes.
and we have to be the targets in his movie, God's
Yes.
movie. And if he didn't think you can handle it, he wouldn't have given it to you.
Come on
And I
now.
remember when I go all the way back to when I said I never asked him why me. I said why not me?
Wow.
And I understood when I'm going through right now, I understood all the things I've been through and the reason why it brought me all the way here to be that person, that strong person, because I can go through it. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
else can't. Somebody else can't
Absolutely.
deal with a child like that.
Absolutely.
Somebody else can't deal with friends who betray them and backstab. They can't deal with that. They'll already be 6 feet under or so intoxicated off of something that don't need to be. So if I can take that for somebody, that's okay. But you
Wow.
know who does that remind you of? Who went to the cross?
Come on now.
And what did he take for us?
For our behalf. Come
Oh,
on now.
didn't have to.
Exactly.
So I understand it. I get it now because I look at it in a different set of eyes. I look at it not from my benefit, but from his benefit. I look at it
Mm.
what like you were saying earlier, like you say now, what is the lesson? What did I have to learn from this? And I
Absolutely.
guarantee you, if we switch that terminology, we will understand something. And then we really would understand something. And let me tell you, it's not for everybody. It
Absolutely.
can be, but it's not for
Absolutely.
everybody.
Absolutely.
It and he knows that, and we know that too.
Yep.
So if I can leave anybody with anything else to understand, if you are in that storm, just keep on moving because it's gonna stop in a minute. Just keep on moving, and just
Absolutely.
and while you're in the midst of, start watching how you're feeling in that. Start watching what's going on in your tornado. What's spinning out, and then those things that you need to work on. Ask for that, and that's why when sometimes I talk about paid in full living.
Mm.
And that's when I say, when you prepare, you pray, and you plan, but you have to acknowledge and accept whatever it is about you. Now, you have to accept it, but not just accept. You have to acknowledge, because a
You
lot of people
have,
don't want to acknowledge it, huh?
that's good. That's good.
A lot
You
of
are
people don't want to
absolutely right.
acknowledge it, because I had to acknowledge the fact that I'm reacting.
Yes.
Because we don't tell nothing about me. Don't you say that.
Exactly. I had
And
every right to do that
I'm the
at the
mama.
time. That's exactly. Exactly.
I'm the mom.
Exactly.
And so and then when you do that, if you pray and plan, because what your prayer is doing is for you to plan for that and acceptance and acknowledge that
Mm-hmm.
intentional, because it's got to be intentional
Mm-hmm.
deliverance. And that's when I
Exactly.
put that last little piece on there, because sometimes your deliverance is from you. And a lot of times when you can be delivered
Woo.
from yourself, you can do a whole lot of good and healing in other places. Because
Yes.
when you fix you, whatever's around you don't have any other choice but to respond.
Absolutely.
But
And
we
he
don't
can
want to
work.
react.
He can work with you
Right. But if you still got the
acknowledging.
blockers on, you still got the blockers on, it ain't never your fault. You ain't never did nothing wrong. You can't own up to nothing. Then you know what? You don't want to get better. Stay where you at.
Right.
You stay over
Literally.
there stuck in your mess because
Exactly.
because let me tell you, it was a minute coming this way, but I'm grateful I came. And
Absolutely.
that's why I say where I am now, I can't go back. And when I say the
Exactly.
pay in full, because if you believe in Christ, he already did this for us. He paid
Absolutely.
the ultimate price for us. So therefore we
Absolutely.
should be living a paid in full life. on this side.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
should be living in a way that we're grateful, we're showing gratitude. We should be getting up every day wanting to learn something new. We should be
Yes,
getting up every day wanting to do something different. If it's loving on somebody, if it's saying thank you, if it's just whatever, like just do something different, something that's going to make a difference in somebody else's life, not yours, not yours. Let's serve somebody.
serve.
Serve somebody. Ain't nothing
Exactly.
wrong with that. Serve somebody.
We have to be a
Other than you
reflection
or
of
somebody
him.
or somebody you always no, do something for somebody different. It's okay to
Absolutely.
smile at somebody. It's okay to pay for somebody else's groceries, even if you don't. It's okay. You can do that because I guarantee you, when you do it in faith and love and grace, oh goodness, when it come back,
Exactly.
oh goodness,
Tenfold.
it's something. It's
Tenfold.
just, hey,
Exactly.
and then you'll
That's
be
a
on
beautiful
platforms
thing.
like Pamela doing this type of stuff. Because 10 years ago, did you think you were going to be doing this?
Girl, I wasn't even online. Are you kidding me?
So, but look at that. We
Not
are.
wanting to share anything, wanting to keep
Mhm,
everything to myself and keep my business to myself. Uh-uh.
mhm,
No. But the
mhm,
freedom is in the sharing and
mhm,
caring and being able to serve the masses.
mhm. Absolutely,
Because you can't help
absolutely.
anybody broken. You can't help anybody. You can only heal as far as you have been healed.
Mhm.
Hurt people
Right,
unintentionally, but healed
mhm,
people also heal people.
right, right.
So it should be a mission of ours,
Mhm,
to get as healed from our mess and our stuff and our traumas.
mhm,
That should be a mission. It's a beautiful thing to walk in freedom. Not
mhm,
saying that, we're going to be free from all the broken pieces. Broken
mhm.
pieces for me, I don't know about nobody else. I had to heal one piece at a time.
Right.
It's a process,
Mhm,
and still got, broken
mhm.
pieces that I'm working on healing and
Right,
mending. But I tell
right.
you what, I don't have all that broken glass in the floor anymore.
There you go. They ain't sticking you in the
Okay.
back.
It ain't sticking me back. And then I can go and I can walk back through that same path, but
Mhm.
there's no glass in the floor to cut me up and hurt me
Right.
anymore. Okay?
That's right.
And so that's what it feels like when you go back and acknowledge things.
Mhm.
Hey, Allison.
Mhm. Yes, you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it, and then you have to accept it because when especially when it's you,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you have to accept it.
Absolutely.
And because I think the worst thing that we can do for ourselves is lie to ourselves, and we think, oh yeah, think we want to pray a half prayer or a watered down prayer. Oh,
Hmm.
okay, who that's helping?
Hmm.
It ain't even helping
Hmm.
you. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's
But
not
you
even
know
helping
what?
you.
However you do it,
Hmm.
he hears. He hears. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure when you asked him, I sure would love to have a closer relationship with you.
Hmm.
I'm sure it wasn't always pretty because he knows our hearts anyway.
Absolutely.
He
Absolutely.
knows our hearts. You don't have to dress it up.
And he knew when I was ready.
I'm
Yep.
telling you.
Mhm.
I'm telling you. And
Yeah.
so, you went through the traumas, you went through the
Mhm.
triggers, and the
Mhm.
triumph of it
Mhm.
all to
Is
give
where I
God
am
the
now.
glory in your story.
Yes. Hmm. And
Could
it's
you?
and it's like it's so many layers because we can be here for hours,
Yes,
but we're not.
yes,
But at the end of the day, and when the sun rises the next day, I'm grateful.
exactly.
I'm grateful because if I'm on this side of the dirt, I won.
Come on now.
Hey, and I got something to do. That means
Absolutely.
I have something else to do. That means
Absolutely.
I have something to do, and that is my mission. That's a charge. I mean, it's a charge on my life. You got something to do, so you better get busy. And no,
Absolutely.
and I don't want to I just want to leave this place and just say, oh, she was a being or has been. No, I want to leave this place where you remember, okay, and I learned something from her. I took something from Yashica. Yashica B, and I used to talk about this sometimes too. When I was younger, they used to always say I talk too much. I had a big mouth, and so I silenced it. And I talk about that sometimes too.
Then
But
you
I
get paid to
realize
talk.
now I had a lot to say. So I
Exactly.
don't I don't talk just to hear myself talk, because sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying, but I know where it's coming from. And then it's
Hmm.
like, you did you know, but I'm grateful because I know where it came from. So I'm okay with the downloads and the stuff that comes out. And again, I just want to be, because I see the time, and I just want to tell you again, I'm grateful because today, even like just knowing I was with my son today, and just knowing that he's good, and then having to be able in the space again to share with someone else who understands that
Hmm.
he's good all the time and
Absolutely.
is willing to because you do your Bible readings every day.
Oh
So
yeah.
look at all that. I mean, it's like when you're in a space, it's like, okay, why, what, go back where, do what?
Exactly. Exactly.
Because I don't, because like I
It's
done
too
seen the
many
glory.
people that are hurting. It's too
Mm-hmm.
many people here that in the world
Mm-hmm.
that we have to help, and you can't help anybody keeping things to yourself. The gifts and the talents and the traumas and the triumphs. Who does that serve?
Right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
I mean, we have to be a reflection of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
and He was a servant,
Right.
and He served many.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you serve people, service to many, Jim Rohn said it best, service to many leads to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are a reflection of Christ, then we have to be servants.
Right.
And those gifts and talents that we have, the gift of talking, the gift of speaking, the gift of being a
Listening.
magnet, you know,
Yes.
that's
Mm-hmm.
not for us.
Right.
And
What's the
God has
sharing?
placed us in these. God has, placed us in these uh, communities and
Mm-hmm.
given us the spirit of freedom and not the spirit of fear.
Right.
Was it scary? Yes. Yeah, it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Was
just a
it worth
reminder that God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity,
it?
as it
Mm-hmm.
states in Timothy, but of power, love, and a sound mind.
Yes.
So, we just have to walk in that. We have to walk in that. And so we could go on and on and on. And I
Absolutely.
thank y'all for, sticking around to listen. But, we might have to do a part two or something. But I just, really appreciate you, Yashica, for coming and sharing your story and being transparent and
Mm-hmm.
to being able to being open to share and
Mm-hmm.
serve the masses is such a beautiful thing. And
Thank you.
all the gifts and talents. I want to thank you so much for sharing all of the gifts and talents that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Writing your books, the Power Voice Women book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tell us. Wait a minute. Okay, so let me go back because we have to wrap it up. But I
Okay.
have three questions that I typically ask all of my
Okay.
guests.
Okay.
All right. And the first question is, what are you most grateful for out of everything that you've gone through?
Mm-hmm. I'm most grateful for understanding who I am and whose I am.
Come on now.
I mean, when you look at it, like when I look over my life, that is, I mean, yes, I love my children, but when I say the most grateful thing is when I discovered who I am and whose I am.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. That's good. Great answer. Very
Mm,
great answer. Second question is, what is your definition of peace? Because
peace.
I have my private Facebook group, Broken
Mm-hmm.
Pieces to Peace,
Mm-hmm.
PEACE.
Mm-hmm.
So share with us what is your definition of peace.
For my definition of peace is being able to walk in who you are and not allow anything to disturb that. Meaning that when I talked about it earlier, those triggers, they are no longer triggers. They're just like they just say, they're
A
just a,
bump in the road, a pothole, or
yes,
bump
like
in
a
the road.
Yes. And knowing it, you're just like, okay, wow. And then understand it's a to me, and it's also a feeling that you cannot. It's hard to describe, but it's connected to a feeling, an emotion, a heartfelt thing.
Yeah.
For me, that's my peace.
Mm,
That's my peace. And it's like when people say, "Oh, I see it," yeah, because I'm there. Yes.
exactly. Exactly. That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. Thank you so
Hmm.
much. That was a great answer. And the third and last question is, what are some
Hmm.
of the things that you do to maintain your sense of peace? Whether it's um, daily rituals that you have, some of the things that you would like to recommend or share with our audience that will help them get on the path to
Hmm.
letting go of their broken pieces from their past and help them move forward into a life of peace.
Well, I tell you the paid in full living. I
Mm,
do that, and that is one thing that definitely can get you there to the peace. And also, I'm getting to the place I meditate, and I do have a morning routine, but
hmm.
I'm reconnecting with nature. If you look at some of my
I
stuff
see
on
you all
Facebook,
over the world.
yes, I'm back. I'm back in the
In the river,
trees. Yeah,
on the lake.
yes. I
Yeah.
man, because when I tell you that this morning being outside,
Mm-hmm.
in that time of morning, then when I went out, that was yesterday when I told you in the story in the interview, that was yesterday. But today when I went out, I watched the sun set as I'm out there, the
Oh yeah,
sunrise, excuse me,
yeah.
as I'm outside. Because when I came out, I could see it through the cow pasture. Okay, y'all,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, through the cow pasture.
We
And
understand
then
you
as
now.
I'm out there, I was out there when it. Oh my, go outside, people. I'm just telling you, go outside and go outside in the odd hours.
Mm-hmm.
Go outside in those odd hours. And if it's cold, bundle up.
Exactly. It's worth it.
But look up and look around. And you will be amazed at what answers you're getting out there by just looking up and looking
Mm-hmm.
around. And so that is something I would also recommend to somebody to find that peace,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge it, accept it, ask for it, and
Mm,
then start. Then when you feel it in your soul to move and do something different, do it.
mm.
Like getting up at 4 something in the morning to go outside.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I can definitely attest to those early mornings because I'm not a morning person. That is not how I am
Hmm.
wired. That this is every morning. This is a sacrifice. It's a living
Hmm.
sacrifice that I do every morning. And I'm grateful because I wish I was a morning person naturally. But God,
Hmm. Hmm.
shows things in the morning. It's beautiful. The most beautiful sunsets. I
Hmm.
look out my window and the most beautiful sunrises I have ever seen. And then the sun
Hmm.
sets. He allows
Yeah.
me to see him look out the window right here and just, oh, it's I'm
Yeah.
just really
Wow.
grateful for that. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
it's beautiful. And so, with that being said, this has been such a rich conversation, and I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you so much.
Thank
So, share with our audience. Let's see. You have
you.
a couple of things that you want to share. How do you have anything else that you want to share with our audience before we let you go?
No, I think because it's rolling across the screen, and also anybody can follow me on Facebook, at Yashica B for you, and my website, yashicab.com. And I also have my store, Designed Reflections by Yashica B. That's one of I'm proud of that project. That's for us, our affirmations, our comfortable living. And after we do all that self
Mm,
care and self love, what do we do next? That's what
yeah,
my clothing represents. What do we do next? We're free. We're free to be who we want to be. Yeah.
absolutely,
So you can
absolutely.
definitely do
And
that.
you have
And
to get the book, A
yes,
Mother's
a mother's
Love
love
Tested.
lesson.
Why not
That
me?
was on Amazon. Why not me? Why not me?
Yes, it's
Like
a
Les Brown said,
great
well,
book.
who else do you think? Who
Right.
else
Who
could it
else can you recommend?
Yeah,
Who else do you recommend to go through it? Okay. Do you have your list?
yes. Yeah, who
Yes,
else? Hmm.
exactly. And also share with our audience about
Hmm.
the women of Power Voice.
Yes.
I know I
Oh,
missed that
wow.
opportunity because I had so much
Hmm.
going on, and I really hate that I am not a part of that. But hey, but God, there are other, opportunities. But I
Yes.
know that this
The
is
time.
going to be an amazing project. I know that it is because all the stories
It is.
I know because I had the experience. So
Mhm. We it is an anthology of. We start off with 40. And the odd thing about it, and the cute thing about it is, I thought 5 or 6 ladies, but we shot up to 40, and now we're at 33, which is great. Of
wow.
women who we were connected by the Power Boys, which is Les Brown and John
Hmm.
Tallarico's vision. And
Hmm.
what we've done was put together a book where, because we had about seven, some of us had 7 minutes, some of us had 10 minutes to tell a story. However,
Yeah.
we all did the work, as you also heard Pamela and I talking about. We all did the work because it's like, wow, you're going through this process. So why not write it
Yeah.
down and put it in a compilation so the world
See?
can hear? They can hear
Absolutely.
our voices through our writing. And that's what we came up with. Myself and Pamela Hinkle, we come up with that. It was her idea, and I kind of ran with it. She had a vision. And I'm like, oh wow, boom, because I'm a pusher, I'm a promoter. I'll
Yeah.
be pushing stuff, go go go. And
That's
so, and
good.
we went from there. And it's been so good since then. We launch on December 12th. That'll be the day that our book comes out. And we've already, yes, we are excited. So you guys will be looking for that. And we're also doing a summit tied to it, where we're launching,
Mm,
and we're doing a summit where the ladies are going to be telling their stories, and you're going to get a chance to meet the authors. So be looking for that too. And we'll send information over to your show so you can help us push it.
please do. Please do. That
Hmm.
is going to be phenomenal. And I'm super
Yes,
excited about that because
yes.
my family of women, I
Hmm.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And even though it wasn't all women, there were men in the Power Voice as well,
Hmm.
like
Yep.
uh, like Tion and so many others who have been on the
Yes.
show. But
Hmm.
um, this that
We
was
took the
such a
women.
powerful idea that for the women. That was beautiful,
Hmm.
and I'm super excited to get my book. Yes,
Hmm.
and to see
Yep. It's
everything that's going
coming.
to come out of that. Yes. And so I definitely want to thank you so much for spending this time with me and my audience
Thank you,
today. This
David.
has been amazing. It's been so amazing. And so, with that
Yes.
being said, make sure that you connect with Yashica B,
Hmm.
at her different platforms, whether it's on
I got so
YouTube,
many.
right? Whether it's on YouTube, you're on Twitter. Are you on
Yes, LinkedIn. No,
LinkedIn?
yep, all of
Where
them.
else are you? Uh,
Yep,
what's the other one?
IG, Instagram, but
Instagram.
it's better just to connect with me on Facebook or either through my website. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, and
So.
I will put the links up there as well
Hmm.
when we come out of the show. Okay, it'll be up
Okay.
there sometime this week. All right,
All
and
right.
yes, I have enjoyed this thoroughly,
So did
thoroughly,
I.
thoroughly, thoroughly. Yes, and so if I definitely want you all to meet us back here in the morning, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But wherever you are joining us in the world, make sure you check your local time zone so that you'll be able to join me live and hit that notification button so that you will be able to be notified when I go live. All right, in the morning for reading the Bible 365 days. And if you have not joined my private Facebook group, Broken Pieces to Peace, go ahead and go over and join my private Facebook group because there are a lot of exclusive offers that are coming down the pipeline. I have the store coming, I have the challenge coming, I have a lot of great things that are coming down the pipeline, and you definitely don't want to miss it. And then join me next week, every Wednesday, same time in the PM for another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in live with Pamela Hope and Yashica B. And
Thank
you all
you.
have a
Good
blessed
night.
evening. Thank you so much. Take care and take